We are live with Chris Schafer. Hi, Mr. Schafer.
Hello.
You
Welcome.
always look you always look so stunning, and I always love your backdrop. Where are you?
I am at my studio in Baltimore, in Fells Point, but I'm over on the stage side. We have the showroom side, and then we have the side where we have our stage set up where we do events, and our photo studio is over here. But this has been more over during COVID where I practice drums here, and we've sublet the photo studio to Hartcorn Studios, who are using the space here, and we're kind of waiting till we can start to have parties again.
Yes, that is fun and what we all are really ready for, right?
That'd be
So
great.
Chris Schafer is the owner of Chris Schafer Clothier. He is an East Coast and West Coast brand and started the company about 10 years ago. And he joined me back in December on the Entrepreneur Evolution podcast. I'll drop that link here in case anybody wants to hear his full story. It's a really good one about how he started in London, and really that's what sparked his business idea. So what we're going to do today is just you get to catch us up to speed. So tell us some updates about, a couple of updates or wins since our last conversation in December. What's going on in your company?
Well, I was surprised when you said December to think that 6 months is kind of went by that quickly. It's kind of, this is such a weird time where the way time is moving, and but yeah, that you just got me with that. I was like, wow, 6 months already. But
it feels like yesterday, doesn't it?
It does. That's what's weird about this. Some things seem like they're yesterday, and other things seem like they're 10 years ago. It's very hard to decipher which is which. But we've so with us, our shop in Baltimore is located in the city, and the city is still in this kind of like this state of flux right now, and things are moving. I feel like if you're in the city, then you know that things are still kind of moving. But I feel like if you're from outside of the city, you might kind of think that the city isn't quite as open. So it's a little bit of a strange time. We've been still been doing a fair bit of business because I think people that are preparing for everything to kind of open back up, and also a lot of grooms that are still getting married. But something that happened that was just yesterday is that I just did the graduation for the Goldman Sachs 10,000 small businesses.
Yes, how was it? I missed it.
It was great. It was they had 4 cohorts that they put together for graduation at Benji's Drive-In last night. So it was great. But it was weird getting the certificate, and it was dated from April 2020, and you're like, it's a year later. It's because our cohort was in the middle of it when COVID hit, and so we started in person and then had to finish online. So yeah, so that was good. That's what just happened yesterday. So that's been my
huge win. That's awesome. What else? You're seeing more weddings.
Seeing more weddings. There you go. One trip that came back. Yeah, seeing the weddings. Also, I'm seeing that weddings are kind of they're getting bigger again. We're seeing people that are having over 100 people at their wedding, and that's
right.
We haven't seen that in a long time. It's been a lot of elopements or backyards, or this new term, micro weddings. So it's like that's been kind of happening where it's just immediate family. So that's been great to see. That's been great to see that just everything's kind of that's picking back up, and so yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about everything.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
I think
huge progress.
The biggest thing is that since I talked to you last, is that I finished my barn in West Virginia. I don't know. Did I talk to you about that?
Yes, you did.
Love it.
So it's all done.
Yes. Yeah. So that was all like hardwood from the sawmill, and I've just been doing a lot of projects to keep my hands occupied and my mind occupied while we've had this lull in the business. And so, but then but then I have to get used to having them actually be finished, which is a whole nother thing. When you're used to doing something, and then you're like, I don't have to keep doing that. I'm done. And sort of adjusting to that that takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's a nice getting used to.
Well, and that's an honest share, it's like we need these creative outlets and these healthy outlets that really keep us occupied and stimulated and thinking. And while we have detours in our business, but it's like, okay, what's next? So let's talk about your industry as a whole. And I know that you have a really good pulse check on global fabric supply chain, where the trend is with office wear and how people are working these days. Are you getting an echo?
No.
Okay.
I had a voicemail thing that was sitting up there.
Okay. So let's just talk about the industry as a whole as it relates to clothing.
Sure.
What can you share with the audience that would be helpful?
Well, I think that this is a lot of pretty much everything has went very casual for a long time, but I don't think it's going to stay that way, because when you have history as an indicator, right? So you look back and say, what's happened? And if you go back 100 years ago, when you had the Spanish flu, which was about the most recent similar outbreak that's ever happened, is that was, that lasted for about 2 years. And then afterwards, you had the Roaring 20s, when you had some of the most outrageous fashions that ever came about. So I believe that's what's going to happen. But I don't think that we're out of the woods yet. So my prediction is that's more of a spring 22 thing, when this pandemic has hit 2 years, and spring and autumn are big fashion times anyway. So I'm seeing things ramp up, for autumn right now, but that's for the people who are more on the that are more out front, that are more pioneering. But I think that when you think about just fashion in general, or like your workwear type of thing, is that when you look back at, say, like when Casual Friday came on, right? And then Casual Friday sort of started to go to Thursday and Wednesday and Tuesday and Monday. And so, but then with that comes kind of like it snaps back and it gets more dressed up again. And I think that's what's going to happen for a couple reasons. One reason is because people have been able to be casual for so long that it's like that it'll feel special to get dressed up again and be around people again, is one reason. And the other thing is because I think the job market is going to be extremely competitive. And when that happens, people tend to, you want to be dressed for the occasion, and or dressing for the job that you want. And so, we're in this kind of weird kind of holding pattern and plus with it being summer, it's kind of this, like I said, it's just I feel like a lot of this is, can you tread water long enough? It's kind of like the swimming test when you're a kid, it's like, you're like, oh my God, I gotta stay. But this is 2 years, not 2 minutes of treading water. But that's kind of the approach that I'm taking. But I think that the casual stuff, because I think people are going to be able to work from home like they've never been able to. But I think that when you go into the office, there's going to be a part where you're dressing up. And I mean, we work with a lot of attorneys and stuff too, and they I think people are going to want to dress back up again. It's not going to be.
Has there been any certain type of demand for different looks or different materials, like the denim with the blazer look? Or
we've seen some of this stuff kind of get a little bit more, some of it's where it's been like a dressy casual type of thing. We've definitely seen that. Like we got into we kind of just tested the waters on a couple things during this. We made some cool bomber jackets that were made out of really nice fabric, and what's interesting too, because with my son being in California, he brings a bit of the West Coast, that vibe, and also plus a younger deal. And like Casey works here, he's a younger guy, so we kind of all work off of each other to sort of see who brings what to the table. But we didn't want to go like super cash, we didn't want to go real like that's not. I didn't want to rock the boat that everything that was what we're doing, because I think that it takes so long for people to get used to for being able to describe to other people what it is that you do. And if you
Right.
jump around all over the place, it's too difficult. And I think that this thing is temporary. There's going to be parts of it that will stick around, but the overall, they're not going to knock down the stadiums and everything. People are going to fill them once again. It's just we're not there yet.
Absolutely. And I think that people are really getting a taste of that. It's almost like the social anxiety of going out and not having anything in the closet to wear, and it's like, oh boy, like I need to do some shopping here. Like, let's go, right?
Yeah.
And I love that you're not taking a major detour from your brand. You're staying true to your brand because the quality of your clothing, the look, the polish, it's so unique and it's so amazing and it's so powerful. It's just, there's nothing like it, really.
Thanks.
Let's talk about growth opportunities. What do you see? And then you get to turn the tables and ask me anything you want.
Okay.
What are your big growth opportunities in the future that you'd like to share?
Say it one more time.
What are your current growth opportunities at hand that you see coming up for your company?
So what we're looking to do is that, first and foremost, you kind of got to get back to sort of where you were, because this pandemic time it's affected business by 50%, so it's like, so I don't, when I talk to myself about, think about this, I'm like, I don't consider it that we've lost business, because that would say that there was business that was there that I didn't do something that caused it to not happen. So it wasn't there to have. Did it end up affecting what the bottom line is compared to the previous year? Yes, it did. Did I like where things were prior to the pandemic? Absolutely.
Right.
But it's like, I'd like to see us, next thing is going to be to kind of pick up the pieces. But like I said, I believe that we're going to I believe that there's a boom that's coming.
Right.
Wait my turn.
Right.
So I don't like where it is, but I tell you, I've been loving having this time that I've had. Has been, I mean, God, I've been having so much fun. You know what I mean? I've really been having a good time. So it's like, a lot of times I think as the older you get, or you're running a business, or you're working a bunch, it's like you find that it's this constant like time versus money. It feels like it's, and it's like, and the key word being versus. And this has sort of flipped everything over on its head and made you realize, like, what do I really need? And like, there's no keeping up with the Joneses with this. It's like, what works for you might not work for me, and that's okay. So.
Yes. And I love how you've been spending quality time, building the barn and skateboarding and like doing all of that. It's like,
thank you.
So great to say, but I love what you said about, your business hasn't gone away. Your clients are still your clients.
Sure.
Just their buying behavior has changed because of obviously a global crisis, right?
Yes.
So they are still there. They will come back when they are needing and ready, and we're there, and the world is back open. And I love how you just said that. So that's great.
I've had to think about this, and I've had more time to think about this, but as I sort of dissect this almost 15 months of our lives, and I look at the chunks of how everything happened, it's, it is kind of surreal. It's like, even when I think about the stuff with doing the graduation last night, and one of the comments was that I haven't seen my cohort. We thought at that point, the pandemic was going to last for 6 weeks.
I know.
But that was the reality when you're going back to last spring, is that it was 6 weeks and it's over and done. And now we're talking about 15, almost to 15 months. So, this is quite a surreal time, but, I'm just waiting for the time. I know that for me, when I get suited up, it's a different headspace. I feel I get, people treat me differently. I feel differently. I carry myself differently. There's definitely something psychological that happens when you are dressed up. I think because it takes your mind off of the fact that you can focus more on what you're saying, and you're not worried about what you're wearing, because you know that you're put together. And, it definitely does something for me. I mean, look, I see it with my business, and then I see it with the nonprofit. It's the same thing. When we give a guy a suit who couldn't afford one, and he gets to wear it, and you can say, hey, look, it's yours, you can wear it out the door, and he's floating on cloud nine. It's the same. It's, you know, it's that feeling of the confidence you get in being, you know, in putting your best foot forward.
Absolutely. Confidence is huge. Well, I'm glad your journey is going well, and you were really just doing a lot of creative think time, finding those healthy outlets, and you're seeing and sharing with us that you're seeing a lot more business with weddings and events. So, okay, so now's your turn. I don't know, we're getting a little bit of background noise here. Sorry about that. I'm not sure why. So now we get to turn the tables, and you get to ask me any question you want. I don't know what you're going to ask me, but go ahead and shoot.
Well, so, you know, you definitely have what you've done with doing these live streams and everything like that. I mean, when did you start that?
So the podcast started back in July of 2020. And we are just coming up on our 100th episode.
Wow.
And there's 2 episodes that drop a week. One that's an interview with an entrepreneur like yourself. And the other is an express tip on Fridays.
Good.
And since I started it during the economic downturn and COVID, I really wanted to share with the audience, and the audience was asking me, how is everybody doing? You know, how are they doing now? Like that the world is kind of opening. So I thought with this type of platform, it'd be a great way to bring back and share more entrepreneur stories with other entrepreneurs, because that's, I mean, for me, that's really what is important, is to make sure you feel supported and not alone, and your story is going to help somebody.
Is this something that you were interested in prior to?
The podcasting or entrepreneurship?
Like some sort of journalism.
I think I've always just been interested in sharing people's stories, and I'm sure you're like this, but like, you know, I don't know why I'm getting this background noise. Kind of bothering me. But with, you know, I'm like the type of person that, like, when I see someone on the street, I want to know their story. You know, I'm just very curious. I wasn't a journalism major. I was a Spanish major and a business minor. So I always wanted to do international business, which is, you know, now I'm in the pallet business and lumber, which is kind of, you know, moving product, very similar to that. But no, this is honestly all about just sharing stories and helping other entrepreneurs out there, because it's just curious learning, really curious learning.
Well, so, you know, I mean, I think most people, well, I mean, I've been spending a lot of time at, you know, at Lowe's and Home Depot. So a lot of people are quite aware of what prices are doing with lumber. How is that affecting your business?
It has been absolutely insane. The price of lumber is continuing to skyrocket. So we've had to reprice multiple times as we get our new pricing, and those were tough conversations to have in the beginning, educating everybody about what was happening.
Sure.
Now it's like, oh my goodness, here we go again. Like, and helping the clients say, when will this stop? So we still have, through our network, some supply, but it's very limited. And to see the industry change as much as it has, especially one of our larger national competitors, literally dropped clients on the spot, saying that they wouldn't give them any pallet orders the next day.
Really?
That's going to be a major, you know, third quarter, fourth quarter supply issue. So that's, you know, and then you hear the stories when people think lumber, they think about building their house and all of that, which is a different type of lumber. And, you know, you hear their stories of like, I'm literally living in construction chic because I can't get a dishwasher. I can't finish my hardwood floors. I can't finish my house because the price is 150% more than my original budget.
Right.
So it's real. These are really interesting times. But, you know, when we met, I was running a real estate firm and it was a housing crisis. Maybe we do better in like down markets, right? I like love down markets, right? I know that's what I really got to run a business.
Yes.
So I think that there's always going to be something in the market. There's always going to be an up. There's always going to be a down. There's always going to be a supply. There's always going to be a demand. It's always going to be something. But when you have the right mindset and the right tools and disciplines, that's what gets you through, right?
It's true. It's true. Look, I feel for you in that because, you know, seeing just what's happening with lumber. And I mean, what pallets are, it's all pine, right? Isn't that what they're using for that?
Yeah, there's different types of wood gone into it, it's used and all that, but yes. Thankfully we've been okay. It's just a lot of our clients that are making sure that they, with other vendors that they're using, are able to supply them. But I mean, thankfully we've been, and even during COVID, we kept all of our employees. We didn't have a down year, and you know, the only really major shutdown we had was automotive, like some of the automotive companies that we sell to in Michigan,
right,
shut down for that blip. But they're back up and running, but that's why we're seeing a major car shortage.
I was talking with my brother today, and he told me that he had ordered a brand new Bronco, and he just got an email today saying that it won't be ready in time, and that that if it's not ready in time, they'll give him the same price on a 22 model, because it's so the supply and demand is really showing itself, and in your industry more than anything, you know, and because you had this, you know, you had an industry that was deemed to be essential with building and, you know, and that kind of kept going, but now the supply of it is drying up and the prices are going. And that's going to trickle down. That's going to affect, you know, everybody who's building or buying a new home. I mean, it's crazy. That's going to be all over the place. But I find it interesting with what you're doing and how much effort you put into what you're doing with where we are right now. And does that stem off into something? Does it stem off into its own thing? Because you've taken this from a little podcast where you've really been kind of growing it a bit more and putting some heart and soul into it.
Well, you know, I don't know if it just comes naturally or I like to do a lot of things at once, but
I suffer from that. I suffer from that as well.
I know, right? It's just how we're wired, Chris.
I tell you though, you know, it's like, you know, we're sitting right here, my stage is right behind me, and I'm a drummer, right? And I tell people, like, you know, when you're a drummer, you have to do a lot of things, you know, at different times, but in rhythm, you know? And so it's like, so that to me, like that, I think when you're an entrepreneur, you have to do that anyway. You might not be able to sit down behind a drum set and do it, but you got to do it mentally. Like this hand's doing this hand's doing that. And so I think that's pretty much, you know, well, I think you got the same thing, right? It's like you're working all the time and make it work. So how is it going with the podcast and with the live streams?
It's been fantastic. It really has. The feedback has been really great. We've got a lot of really amazing guests, both locally and nationally.
Cool.
And you know, what's interesting about the blend of timber and iEvolve is that with the business owners that I coach through iEvolve, whether it be a coffee shop or a national, you know, bakery brand or whatever it is, I can tell different, I have my pulse on the economy through different products that we're putting on our pallets. You know, the car example really, we're a leading indicator of the economy.
Right.
Because right now, you know, we are looking at or have already looked at Christmas orders. So the product that's being distributed in stores and in retail those pallets have already been bought or trying to be bought and purchased.
Sure.
And the product going out. So it's interesting. I watch that stuff year over year, month over month, and to really help, so like if it is the coffee shop, we're talking about their inventory, and if they don't have the caramel creamer that everybody loves, then she better get that right now, because that might be an issue. Like those it's like the strategic going into the tactical and blending those two. That really, it just, like you said, it works for me, and it's something that's really just, it all pulls together. Just like your creativeness pulls together.
So tell me more about your coaching.
My coaching, so I coach growth-minded entrepreneurs on the national scale, and I do private coaching. I have limited private coaching availability, and then I source different mastermind groups that meet bi-weekly. They're accountability groups, and we focus on the journey of maintaining disciplines and improving every week. And it's just really cool to see the chemistry in these groups. And then if they want or need the private one-on-one coaching, that's what I help them with.
So is that all virtual, and was it virtual prior?
It has been virtual, but recently, with a lot of my generational shift or companies, so I coach a lot of companies to get to this scalable point.
Right.
So working with their teams, identifying, next ownership opportunities, or opportunities to sell in the marketplace, with breeding them to sell. We've been starting to do on site at their office, because they're ready. And sometimes they're just like, okay, come in and just help me reorganize. Like, where do I start? Where do I get my head around this? Right? So that's been really rewarding work, because people need it right now.
I think the one-on-one stuff is like, that's going to go such to the very, very top. It's going to be, it's like, because now you can do so many things virtually that's actually someone face to face, which is like the best form of communication, really. Right? I mean, like, yeah,
these work too,
Yeah, it's good. Like, I like hearing that people are getting back to doing that. And I mean, look, I think that goes with the fact that, are people getting vaccinated? They feel comfortable doing these things. They, and are they sick of the way things used to be? Do they want to kind of get, like, I feel like if you want to get on with things, and it really comes down to, like, is everybody doing their part? If they're doing their part, then we will get through this and kind of get on with it. Because like I was talking with a guy last night that was from Dublin, right? And he was saying that they just opened up, Dublin just opened back up yesterday for outdoor dining, because they had a second wave that hit of COVID. Because because Christmas is so big, and the Christmas markets and all that stuff are so big in Europe, that they were like, we have to open everything up, and they did. And then they got this second wave that hit, and it's been pretty debilitating for them. So, that's, it's pretty fascinating when because this is a global thing, and I think it makes you realize more and more how, like, we're connected, even if we're not, even if you're not right next to somebody, that person might be traveling all around, or how is it affecting their lives? And and look, you're able to do this and do this through phones and computers and reach people from all over the world. And
very cool.
It's like I see how much you love it. It's obvious. You're putting some heart and soul into it, and I know it's probably like another job. And
well, thank you.
Well, I mean, you have to prepare for everything to kind of be able to put the time into it to get the results that you want to. And I thank you for even thinking of me, for having me on. And
absolutely, anything I can do to help you and help your business. I can't wait for Sean to come down and get a new suit. You make him all happy looking.
Well, I tell you, it's like, I feel like the like it's coming back around.
It is.
Think about, like, how long it took to get to this place, and there's got to be that equal and opposite reaction, and that's the part that it's kind of like, you know, we all want immediate gratification, but it's like, or instant gratification, but that's not the way this thing seems to want to work.
It's so true. And, you know, to your last point about the businesses opening, you know, a lot of the coaching, you were asking me about that, is, okay, I'm going to reopen, but I'm not going to have the same business I had before. I don't want the same business I had before. So how do I restructure it, right?
Sure.
How do I design my space differently? So it's a lot of those conversations are really happening out there, which is great. All right, Chris, you're the best. You're the best. You're the best. I know we could talk all day. I know we could. I know we could. So good.
I like the part of interviewing you too. That was good. I like that.
I know. Well, it's so cute. Amy John was on last week. She's owner of Training House, and she like wanted to ask me a lot of questions too. So she did quick fire. So she was asking questions like, you know, Post-it notes or highlighter and like all this funny stuff. So it was cute. It was great. But you did a really good job too. I love it.
Well, look, I see what you're doing and the way you're going about it. And I find it interesting. I mean, it's like, you know, the big word has been about pivot, and some pivoting is holding steady, and some is actually changing and doing things that maybe you were always interested in, and now it's giving you the time to be able to go and do that. So I like what you're doing. It's always interesting seeing how you're handling business and life, and you know, married life, kids. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to juggle.
It is. But it's fun. You still have to have fun, you know.
That's the idea.
So, it is. Sorry for the echo. I don't know what was happening with our audio today, but it was really good conversation. Chris, you are just awesome. And I love your flavor. I love your style. I love everything about you. And I can't wait to give you a big hug in person. Thanks for being here today.
I know. That's the next step, isn't it? That's going to be great. All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.